Hey, everybody!
Hey, hi.
Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. How's everybody doing? You guys look good. How you doing, Ryan?
Doing great. Thank you. How
You
you
look
doing?
great.
Oh, well, not as great as you, but
We're
I don't.
not gonna go this. We're not gonna do this again.
Yeah,
You
that's
look
right. We
way
better
better
back
than
then.
me. Exactly. You don't
Okay,
look.
all
You
right,
don't
fine,
look as
fine,
great as
Joe.
me because you look way better than me.
All right, next time I see you, man, I'm gonna punch you in the face until you're ugly, and then you'll still look better than me. And that's
Not
my
better.
threat. And that's my false threat that I'll never carry out.
Ah, yes. I would like to see you punch anything in the face. That'd be very interesting.
Um,
I would.
I don't think I've ever. Nah, I don't even think I've even punched a stuffed animal in the face. I wouldn't
Wow.
dare.
Wow.
No, I wouldn't hurt anything. Like if I not intentionally, and I will save flies, and I will tell people who are swatting off flies. You know, because you've literally been with
I
me
have. I
while you
have.
were swatting at flies. And I'm like, dude, you kill it, you eat it.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Yeah,
You know, I
that's
have mouse
my
traps set around my house. What do you think about that?
mouse are pretty stupid. Mice are pretty stupid. Yeah, that's on you. If they fall into one of those traps, it's not their fault. It's your fault.
It's my fault?
Yeah, I mean, you set the
Dude,
trap, and you know that mice aren't smart enough.
you know they'll wreck your house if you let them overrun it, right? Like,
No, you don't let. First of all,
you
you
don't let them
don't
in
let
the
them in the
house.
house. That's such a stupid statement.
Yeah, right.
But also, you capture them with a nice kind of trap that doesn't hurt them,
Oh,
and then you put them outside.
yeah, and then they find their way right back in.
Not if you put them like really far away from your
Where
house.
you drive them down to the park or something and put them.
Yeah. Have you no compassion or time for other animals?
Oh my gosh.
Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday, everyone.
Hey, it's Princess. How you doing, Princess?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Oh, just fabulous.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we've got a
How about you,
great.
Ryan?
Yeah, how you doing, Ryan?
Huh? I already said I was doing great. I responded to Joe's
We're
question
gonna
when you asked Joe.
no, but everybody's got to
I don't know
ask you.
why.
Everybody in the chat, ask Ryan how he's
Everybody
doing,
chat
please.
asks me, and I will respond individually to each and every one of you how I am doing, and hopefully in a different way every time. We'll see if I can do that.
Yes, yes,
All right,
swimmingly.
swimmingly.
Ah, yes, Kendra. That's when you get a cat if you aren't allergic, and they will hunt the mice. How do
Oh,
you feel about a cat hunting a mouse?
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that because that's kind of like
Mm.
chain of like the cat. Well, the cat's gonna eat it,
That's what I said. You kill it, you eat it. The cat's
right?
gonna eat it.
Okay, yeah,
That's nothing wrong with that.
yeah. So if I ate the mouse I caught in a mouse trap, that would be okay.
Oh yeah, go for it, man. Absolutely. I will applaud you if you did that. I will actually be really proud of you because
Be
who
like,
does that?
how do I eat this thing? Like,
How do we eat it? I don't know, man. I don't know.
that's pretty wild. Awesome. Well, welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. This is a show that's all about you guys. This is a show where we talk about what's going on in your lives. If you have a topic you would like us to cover, you can put it, you can go to our website, don'tworrywednesday.com. Click the submit a topic button and then fill out the form, and it will populate in our list, and it'll be great. And so, yeah, we are not professional counselors, therapists, or anything of that sort. We just want to help. We want to be a friend. We want to do what we can to offer some love and encouragement and some perspective along the way while you journey through whatever it is you're going through. We know most of the time you're probably smart enough to figure this out on your own, but sometimes it just helps to have a little bit of outside perspective because when we're in the middle of stuff, it's hard to see the whole picture. It really is.
For sure.
You know,
Hmm.
when you're going through something, it helps to have a friend that can point some stuff out to you and be like, boom. And then you're like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Mm.
And yes. And that's what we want to do here. I'm going to share with you my friends on this show, which is Ryan and Princess. They're
Oh,
amazing. They are really good at pointing out things to me, and so I hope that they'll do the same for you. I'm just gonna stand up here and, well, I'm gonna sit in my chair up here on the screen, and
Below me.
below
So down.
the P.
So you're gonna stand up down there, sit. You're gonna stand up down there.
Yes. Up here on the bottom.
Sorry, it is as you were.
Yes. Crazy. Anyway, so you guys are awesome. We love you guys. So yeah, Ryan, how you doing?
Oh, what I have not used. Peachy. I'm doing peachy. How are you?
Peachy.
Oh, Kendra, you asked how I was doing. Oh, I'm doing magnificent.
Magnificent. It's Ryan the Magnificent.
Magnificent.
Yes.
I'd like to know the true definition of that word. Where is it actually applicable? Like people go, that's spectacular.
Ooh.
No, spectacular is specifically things that are a spectacle,
Like a
something
spectacle.
you see.
Mm-hmm.
Something that are awesome. Awesome is specifically supposed to be something that brings you awe. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Awful, we use completely wrong. Awful is supposed to be
Full
something
of
that's
awe.
full of awe, not, oh, that's really bad. Somehow that word got turned upside down.
Yeah, awesome and awful. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's why I always say
Yeah.
like outstanding. Like people be like, "Hey, how you doing?" Outstanding.
Outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So you're not in standing.
Well, it stands out. It's like, hey.
I know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it stands out.
Princess with the definition.
thank you.
Impressively beautiful, elaborate, or extravagant, striking, very good, excellent, magnificent.
Got it.
Magnificent.
Do we have an etym on that? An etymology?
Hmm.
I'd really appreciate that one too, because that always gives a deeper inside look too.
Well,
She beat me to it.
You know what?
It's okay, Fredneck. She beats me to most things as well.
You are correct, Ryan, that you are magnificent. You are impressively beautiful, elaborate, and extravagant, striking, very good and excellent.
Oh, boom, strike.
From the Latin,
From Latin
of great.
great.
Okay.
Oh, magnum, right. And then ficent. Okay.
Nice.
Yeah, Magnus, great. Magnum, Magnus. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Now we know.
There we are.
This is Don't Worry Wednesday. This is what we do here, right?
Yeah. Okay. Apparently now
Yeah.
we do this now. We should probably do a topic though. That's actually what we do here.
I think that's a really good idea. So I'm gonna go through the list, and I'm gonna point out. Hey, Haley, how's it going?
Hey.
It's been a
Nice
while.
to see ya. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got the list.
You're amazing too, Haley.
Yes. We have our list of names here, and yeah, we'll go through it. And if you're here, let us know you're here, and we'll do your topic. It'll be great. So anyway, we have Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meow, Shark Jelly, Toby, Saule, Warspite, Vanderwood, August, Kel's Kitchen, Fredneck, and we have a combo of Meow and Raka. Yeah.
Yo, what's up with your mom and dad in chat?
Yo,
That's right.
What's up, Saule?
It's always got it.
Yes. So I think Saule, since you're here, yeah, we haven't done one of yours in a long time. So we will do yours. This is called Reconnecting with Old Stories by Saule. And I will get the topic up on the screen, so then you guys can read along while Princess reads it aloud. Hey, you're welcome. And there it be. It's right there for you. Whatever. Oh,
you haven't said, "Princess, are you ready?"
Oh,
I'm
ready? So sorry.
I was waiting for the cue.
You know, I take a week off, and you know.
Oh, good.
What he means to say is like, Princess, if you don't want to, you don't have to. We'll just sit here in silence. It's pretty good too. We all like that.
Mm-hmm.
We get to stare at a topic. I was gonna say we get to stare at Joe's beautiful face, but I was like, oh yeah, the topic's on the screen, so never mind.
Yeah, but we've been through this, Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
We've been through
and
this.
now we're going to the topic.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, great idea. Great idea. Great idea.
So, Princess, whenever
Recently,
you're ready, go ahead and read read the topic.
Oh my gosh.
recently, I have been considering trying to get back into writing. Some of the stories that I started in high school. I know a lot more about good writing syntax now, so I think I could rewrite some of the stories from back then much better. There's just one problem. I don't know the characters anymore. I had the challenge back then that my characters were somewhat realistic in their personalities. They didn't always do what I wanted them to do, so the plot points usually played out a bit differently than my outline. I could nudge them in a direction by controlling some of the outside influences, but the characters ultimately would make their own decisions. That is, I could not write the character doing something that the character would never do. It made the whole story feel more authentic, and I liked it. I like writing characters and putting them into situations. The characters write the stories by their actions, not me. But it's been years since I knew these characters, or the real people they were based on. I don't know how to get back into writing when I don't have realistic characters. Do you have any suggestions on how to get back to writing? I'm inspired to write, but the subject of my inspiration is non existent, and thusly I'm left all alone. From Saule.
Saule. This is an interesting topic, and I know that I'm really glad Ryan's here because
Oh, okay.
I don't know a whole lot about writing stories. I've never been a story writer, but Ryan has written many stories, and he's put together screenplays and all kinds of great stuff. It's amazing what I've seen come from his mind. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to say. But I think just to give him a little bit of time to think, I will say how to get back into writing. One of the best things you can do is just start writing. There's it's just an exercise. I've done this with lyric writing for a while, and it just is a habit where I take a few minutes and I'll just write whatever words come to mind, and I'll just write, and then before long maybe something coherent comes out, maybe not, but when like to get inspired before doing the task can be putting the cart before the horse. Sometimes we have to just start ourselves physically doing the thing, and then the inspiration comes as we're going because it kind of warms us up and it gets us into the groove. But yeah, I know Ryan will have a lot to say about this, and so I'm excited to hear what he has to say. So Ryan, take it away.
Oh, thanks, Joe. I appreciate that. I haven't
Mm-hmm.
written all that much, but I've written a few things. And I would say right off the bat, what Joe was talking about, but slightly different. Reread what you've written.
Mm.
Open up anything you're any stuff that you have that you've written before, and start reading through it, and dig into it, and let your imagination do what your imagination does. Because that will supply you with new fuel to start writing with. When like when I'm writing a story, and I don't do that often, but when I do, I reread what I wrote, and by rereading it, I go, oh yeah. I remember I was gonna do this. I was gonna try to throw that, throw them in this direction, or I really wanted to explore this other culture more of this civilization, or I wanted to learn more about. Like sometimes it's just research, even. Sometimes you have, you're writing something and you realize like, oh, I don't know enough about this topic that this character is involved with. I'm gonna have to do some research on it. And so you go off and you do some research, and by doing research, you learn more and more, and it gives more fuel for your writing. So, what I would say is if you want to start getting back into writing, start reading. Start reading. And I don't mean just read any old thing that someone else wrote. Read your own stuff. And the reason I say that specifically is because if you read other people's stuff, sure, sometimes it can give you a great idea, but anything you imagine is going to be basically plagiarism. It's going to be off
Mm.
of their story.
Mm-hmm.
What you want to do is you want to imagine, have your imagination wild, go run wild, but be able to use it. Actually use the things that you imagine. Use the creative ideas that come to your mind. So don't read someone else's stuff. Read your own stuff. If you already have a a log, if you will, of things you've already written. Of course, this wouldn't apply to someone who's never written anything. So if you're trying to get inspired, then sure, go read someone else's stuff. Yeah, that's not a problem. Um, and for me, myself, I haven't read a whole lot, but I've written a decent amount. And by decent amount, I mean I haven't written like probably even one novel, but I've written a decent amount. All right. So I would say you don't have to read in order to be a good writer, but reading other people's works will teach you better how to write. Find something that is successful and read their stuff, and don't just read it for entertainment value. Pick it apart. When you read someone else's stuff and they're successful, pick it apart. Pick apart, okay, what makes them successful? In what way do they tell their stories that is catching? How do they lead you on? How do they utilize their words to pull out certain emotions? You know, look at their writing style, look at those things, and that stuff can be very helpful to becoming a good writer. But you don't have to indulge in reading nonstop to be a good writer. You don't have to be someone who is a connoisseur of writing to write something that will be successful. It's just true. A lot of people that are successful writers are on both sides of, hey, I am an avid reader. And then you have some people that are successful. It's like, no, I don't almost ever read anything. I just wrote this, you know? So just keep that in mind. Reading other people's works is great, but it's not entirely necessary. And that's true for musicians as well. That's true for, you know, when I was growing up, I actually didn't listen to that much music. You know, a lot of people around me were like surprised at the limited amount of music I listened to. And I told them, like, whenever I wanted to hear something, I would just go sit down at the piano and I'd play something. And that's what I would do. Like, and that actually made me a decent piano player because instead of just listening, I was participating and experiencing music through playing it, right? So you don't have to be an avid listener of music to be good at music, but that doesn't mean don't listen to music because you can learn a lot. I know Joe taught me a lot about that. Because I remember we traveled, we were driving in a car one time and he pulled on a song. He's like, listen to the song, listen to all these things going on, listen to the science behind it. Listen to like how this is progressing in this order, and then it comes back and how he adds a little bit here and there and all sorts of different stuff, right? And I remember him going through that with me. I'm like, yeah, that was really good. That was really helpful.
Yeah, and it was a country song too.
Yeah, it was a country song, which was funny because Joe said, I don't even like country, and you don't like country, but we're going to listen to the song together because it's successful and it's actually good.
It's very well produced. Like, this is like when you listen to this song, I think it was What Was I Thinking by Dierks Bentley. And
Yeah, I think so.
It was a very, very well produced song. Not my favorite song in the world. Obviously, I don't like country, but the production value was good. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, awesome. No, it's perfect ad. Hey, welcome, Fierce. Oh, and Gabriel, nice to see you guys. So anyways, that's kind of like really what I wanted to say off the bat is read your own stuff, get inspired by what you've written so far. Well, what you've said about writing, making up these characters and letting them kind of, you put things in their environment, but they do what they do, right? You don't get to guide the situation. They kind of just do what they do. I really love this form of writing. I know that I have a good friend that did the same thing. Him and another friend would get together and they would write the same book together, and they would both write their own characters' stuff and never like tell the characters what to do, but allow the characters to do what they would do because of their personalities. And they both had these characters memorized, so they would collaborate in writing this huge book. And they never published it, they never released it, but it's like a huge book. It's like 3 novels worth. So he's like, I don't know what we'll ever do with it, but it was really, really cool for them and a lot of fun. And I've heard that a couple of other people, I've heard him say that a couple of other famous writers did the same thing, where they just wrote the character or came up with the idea of the characters, really made their personalities and all of that kind of stuff guide what happened in the story.
Mm.
So I think that is a great idea. It's a good method and it is fruitful. The last thing I want to say is don't be afraid to publish or to put your stuff out there.
Mm.
Because I mean, other than inspiration, it's nice to have help. And help can come in form of self-criticism, sure. Help can come in the form of encouragement, but it can also come in the form of monetary money, right?
Mm.
People might pay for your stuff, and that will help you do more.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with putting your stuff out there for sale if people like it. People want to buy it. Um, don't be too afraid to do that. Don't be afraid of people criticizing your work, or don't be so attached to your work that you get emotional if someone doesn't like it. I think that's super key in all the creative works.
Mm-hmm.
You are not your creation. I mean, you are not your own creation. You are not your creation. What you put out there into the world is its own thing, and people will either like it or don't like it. Your job is to just make it and
Mm-hmm.
see where it goes, right? You don't have any influence past that point. Once you put it out there, you don't have any influence. So people will either like it or not like it. It's not on your control. It isn't you. It isn't. Yeah. Anyways, don't get your emotions attached to it. Allow it to be what it is, and be proud of what it is, even if other people don't like it, because you liked it.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, that's what I got. I'm gonna give it over to Joe to see what he's got to add to this.
Mm. Well, I love what you were saying, Ryan, and I'm kind of I'll go along some of the same lines. But like, Saule, I do have to tell you, I'm not a writer of stories. I'm not a writer of, fiction or coming up with characters, all that stuff. I've just never really done that. So I don't, so as far as, getting into some of those nuances, I would not be the right person to tell you. But Gabriel said something very important in the chat. He said, writing, I think, is kind of like playing an instrument. At the end of the day, it's mostly about practice. And that is literally true. So the more you do it, the more you will feel like doing it, the better you will get at it. And really, that is so key. I've been playing drums now for 30 some years. I used to know the number, I forgot it. But anyway, and I feel like I can pretty well hold my own behind a drum set now, which is kind of nice. It's kind of fun. I feel like I can trust myself to sit down and play something that would work with a lot of different tunes. Now, some things, there are some styles that I'm not all that great at, but in most cases, I'll be able to sit down and play something. Now, with writing, if you don't do it, you will get rusty, right? I mean, it's the same as anything. You kind of fall off, and you get out of practice, and then it's harder to come up with ideas and everything. So that's why in the beginning, what I was stressing was, just start writing, whether it's something that you're going to use or not. Just start writing words on a paper, and as you take the action, the inspiration then comes more and more. And one of the things that I've done, yes, so I have been playing drums since before I was born. Yes, 30 plus years, and I'm 29. That's pretty impressive, see? Oh, you see no conflict.
That's right. I mean,
Yep.
he could have been playing, drums for 80 years.
Well,
He's still 29.
I've been 29 since I was born too.
Yeah, these
That's
things
the
are
thing, right?
arbitrary. They're just different
Right.
things. It's like,
Yes. So anyway, there are a couple things that you can try. If you're finding that you're not feeling motivated to start writing or to get into writing or to take the time to, get going into your writing practice, is that one of the things that's been very helpful to me is to set a timer for when I'm going to do something. So, I remember a few years ago, I was like, okay, I need to get back into playing the guitar. I need to start playing the guitar more. I need to start writing more songs, and, we need to move this ball forward. And so I said, okay, I'm going to just make a commitment that for 30 minutes every day, I'm going to play the guitar. And it doesn't matter what I play. It doesn't, I'm going to pick up the guitar and I'm going to play and I'm going to set a timer. And when 30 minutes is up, I'm done. Right? And here's the thing. We can take that little chunk of time usually. Now, if 30 minutes is too much, you can set a timer for 10. That's what I do for lyric writing. I set a timer for 10 minutes. I write words for 10 minutes. I usually end up filling up about one page. That's about 10 minutes worth of work for me, is one full page of words. And what that does is it just gets me in the habit of coming up with these things. Now, I had an interesting thing happen when I started playing guitar for 30 minutes every day. Because the reason I was stopping myself from doing it was because it just seemed like a big, huge task. Because what I was putting in my mind was, I've got to write more songs because we need to release more stuff. We need to do this stuff. I need to be a better player. All these things were coming into my mind, and it was turning it into this monster of tasks, right? And I was basically looking at the results and thinking, that's my task. I have to become an excellent guitar player, and I have to write a bunch of music so we can produce some albums, so we can do what, right? And it became this big, huge, hairy beast of a thing staring me in the face. And then when I started setting a timer for 30 minutes, I'm like, you know what? I can play guitar for 30 minutes. No big deal. And then when 30 minutes is done, I'm done. And so what it does is it takes all the big scariness out of it. It totally puts all of the goals and results, it puts them out of the way. And now all I'm doing is I'm just sitting down and playing. And the interesting thing that happened, like within a month, I had written 6 new songs. And, and my skill had gone up tremendously, just a half an hour a day. And the interesting thing was I would make myself stop at 30 minutes. And there's a reason for that. Because I didn't want to, let's see. If I was tempted to go past the 30 minutes, then the temptation would be to make it a bigger deal than what it was. And I didn't want to make it a big deal. The other thing was, if I only have 30 minutes and I have this allotted time, that means I need to be focused and productive for those 30 minutes, because if there's stuff that I need to be doing, I got to get done with it. And so what it does is it puts a little bit of urgency into what you're doing as well. So, when we time ourselves, it kind of forces us to subconsciously get to the good stuff faster. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're having trouble, those are some things that I can recommend to you. Yeah, I would go back and listen to what Ryan had to say, because he has a lot more experience with writing than I do, as far as stories and stuff like that. But yeah, Saule, I wish you the best, man, and I know you can do it. And it's just going to take, working on some of this stuff, and it'll be good. So Ryan, did you have anything else to say?
Just 2 quick things. One thing is on track with what I was saying before. Reread your own stuff. That should maybe help you get back into your own characters, remember what they were like, so you can write with them again. But the other thing I was going to say, along with what Joe was saying, was schedule it. Schedule it. Just put it in your daily schedule. Because if you don't, most people, if you don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. If you don't write like a very specific time every day, that's when you do it. If you don't have that, like most people will not do it. Because instead of it being scheduled, be like, oh, do it every day. What time? Well, let's see. It's not bedtime yet, so I still got a couple more hours, and then bedtime comes around, and you're like, I'm a bit too tired. What I'll do is I'll do it 2 times tomorrow. So I'll do it yeah, I'll do it twice tomorrow. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, "Well, uh yeah, for some reason it didn't happen again today." And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So schedule it. Put a specific time down. And just do it for that certain amount of time. I mean, it's the same thing with prayer for most people. If you don't put a specific time for prayer down in your day, it's not going to happen. Because when are you, like, most people aren't actively thinking, okay, now I got to go. Like, most people can't hear the call to go into prayer in the first place. So, like, when are you thinking of it? And then when you think of it, do you have time? Generally, no, you're probably a little bit too busy, and so you don't ever actually make any time for God. It's where most people live their lives, and it's just the way it is. I would recommend against it. Schedule it. Put it on your daily and have a time for it, and you meet it every day. And if you miss it, it's, what? It's okay. You miss a day, make sure you get the next day. But put down a time. Because putting down a time will make you way more active in actually doing it than continuing to put it off. And also what it does is it programs you to actually do it. Obviously I just said that, but this is different. Like, I mean it in a different way. When you, like Joe was saying, when you haven't a lot of time to do it, you get to the meat of it faster, right? Because when you start writing and you only have 10 minutes, your brain goes into it faster because it knows, all right, I don't have time to dilly-dally, right? And so it goes in quick. It gets right to the heart and the meat of it. So by putting it on a specific time spot on your day, it also forces that nature because then you've got something after it. So you don't have much time, right? So basically it comes right back to what Joe was saying. And so, yeah, I would recommend that. Reread your own work, study it, let it inspire you, use that inspiration, put in your calendar when you're going to do it, for how long, and then go for it. But yeah, your inspiration is going to be a lot higher. And that's what I was trying to say before. Your inspiration is going to be better for it if you put it in your calendar. Because your mind, what's going to happen is your mind will clear everything else out. Does that make sense? Like, if you don't allocate a specific time for it, when you get to it, your brain might still be focused on everything else. But when you have a specific time frame for it, generally what happens is you go into it and your brain, because you've programmed this into your schedule, your brain goes, okay, this is writing time. And it allows your brain to flush everything out and get to writing and be fully engrossed into it. And then once it's done, you're done, and your brain can go back to the rest of its business that it was thinking about before. So, yeah, that's all I had to say. Back to you, Joe.
Back to me. I don't have a whole lot more that I can contribute. I think, Ryan, you nailed it, man.
Okay, you too, man.
You done nailed it.
Get done nailed it.
Yeah, scheduling is very important, though. I will agree with you on that. When it's interesting when we think we're going to bind ourselves to a schedule, we think that's going to reduce our freedom, but it actually creates more freedom in our lives because it allows us to trust ourselves. When we develop
We're
a
able
habit,
to do what we want to do.
Yep. When we live on a schedule, when we have structure, when we structure our lives and our schedule like that, it brings in more trust that we have for ourselves, that we're going to do these things. And so then it becomes even more like, now it's almost automatic. You're going to write and you're going to go through with it because now you trust yourself that you're going to do it. There's this whole subconscious thing that happens when you can put a little bit more structure into your life and into your schedule. It's really, really a cool thing. So, well said, Ryan. That was awesome.
You too.
So, Anyway, thank you, Saule. Hopefully that was helpful for you, and hopefully you can take some of those suggestions and put them to use, and they'll help you with your writing. So appreciate you being here. Appreciate you submitting topics for us and stuff. So yeah, thank you very much. And yeah, what do you say we move on to the next one?
Sounds great.
All right. Excellent. I will go down the list and see if anyone's here. If you hear your name, let us know you're here, and we'd be happy to do your topic. We have Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meowlido, Shark Jelly, Toby, Warspite, Vanderwood, August, Kel's Kitchen, Fredneck, and Meow and Raka. Oh, Meow's here. Fredneck is here. Hey, we got people here. We can do some topics. What do you think, Ryan?
Sounds great.
I haven't asked Princess in a while.
Let's
What
do
do
it.
you think, Princess?
Topics are good.
Topics are
That's it. Okay,
good.
yeah. No recommendation. Just yes, topics. Yeah. I think
All right. Well, we have one here from Meow. Looks like that one is coming up top of the list for who's here, and this one is called "The Willpower for Self-Discipline." Ooh, this sounds like
snap.
it could be good.
Yeah.
The willpower for self-discipline. Man, oh man, I can't. Oh, I don't know what's gonna come out on this one, boy. I'll tell you what.
What is gonna come out of my mouth? I don't
Yeah,
know. We'll find out together.
No,
That's how it is every
clue.
time for me.
I know it's gonna be great. So, but I will go ahead and put that topic up on the screen, and then Princess can read it aloud. So, Princess, whenever you're ready.
Willpower is something that I think all of us struggle with in some way. To clarify, when I think of willpower, I think of one's ability to act on their choice. For example, if I want to get myself to practice piano or work on a music project, but I just keep putting it off or whatever, that is showing weak willpower. I think willpower is an important thing to work on for all goals and dreams. If you want to be able to do anything, you have to have the ability to choose how you act and what you do and stuff like that. For me, I'm wanting to work on a lot of things, but I need to have strong willpower to act on these choices. I need to have the willpower to change. I can't make progress on other things until I learn to have the willpower to make that progress. I hope this makes sense. My main question is this: how do I strengthen my willpower and thus have the willpower to keep my willpower strong? Thanks, from Meow.
Good.
Awesome. I love this.
Yes, we're in a
Thanks,
little bit
Ken.
of a cycle here, you know. How do I strengthen my willpower and then have the willpower to keep my willpower?
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, this is great, and in a lot of ways, you know, there are going to be some parallels with what we were just talking about with Saule's topic, and what we're going to be able to talk with you on this one. But willpower is an interesting thing. Sometimes it takes, you know, digging into our reasoning why. Why are we doing this? Sometimes we're faced with something really, really hard. And it can be daunting and it can be huge. And we can be, you know, staring down the barrel of it and going, what, how am I even going to do this? And then we have to reconnect with the reason why we're doing it. That can be so important. And whether that's like a dream of a lifestyle you want to have for yourself, or whether that's a dream of, you know, playing an instrument, or, you know, a certain situation getting fixed or whatever, to reconnect with that reason why can give us the willpower to move forward in that direction. But that's a little tidbit of where I have to start with, but I'm going to turn it over to Ryan and see what he has to say, because Ryan is very wise and
I don't know.
and amazing, and he
I'll
looks
try to
really
be.
good. Just look at that guy. Just look at him. Exactly.
Hey, guys.
That's the face right there.
That's the new Ryan.
Beautiful, beautiful.
He's much like Brock from Pokemon. He can't open his eyes. He's just, hey guys.
That's awesome.
He only has one voice line. It's just hey guys. He doesn't know any other line.
Oh, that's
Okay,
it?
anyways. Sorry about that.
Nice.
That weird Ryan came out of me. I don't know how to. I might just suck that one back into me, and hopefully that one doesn't come out again. Um, so yes, fantastic question, Meow. And what Joe was saying, reconnecting with your will is important. What is your will, and redefine it, and why are you having that will? Doing that can help you have a stronger emotional attachment to those things that you will for yourself, and that's good. I love that you distinguished or that you kind of defined and used willpower in the way that you did, including to the point of needing the willpower to keep your willpower strong. I think that's brilliant. So this is awesome, yeah. On the very end, or the tail end of the last topic that we talked about, Joe was talking about freedom and how when we have freedom, or when we schedule ourselves, we end up with more freedom. We think that our freedom is going to be taken away, but we actually end up with more freedom. And I think that goes right along with willpower. You see, there's a sense of freedom that requires willpower. For example, if you're addicted to something, you're a slave to that object or that thing, whatever it is, right? Which means you are not free. You are not free to choose whatever you like. Why? Because ultimately your willpower isn't strong enough. Freedom and willpower are honestly one thing. Most of the world counts freedom as the ability to choose. The ability to choose. That's true, because having great willpower means you can choose, but choose what? See, there's a conflict with freedom. If someone is presented with 500 choices versus another person who's given the option of 3 choices. So like, let's say you go to the store and you have like 500 different pairs of pants you can buy. Okay? And they all fit, but they all fit slightly differently. They all have a different design on them, right? And you just like looking through the pants and there's like 500 choices. Versus you go to the store and you only have 3 that you can choose from, right? What ends up happening is rather strange. The person who buys 1 pair of pants from 3 versus the person who buys 1 pair of pants, or maybe even 15 pairs of pants from 500. The amazing thing is the person that had less choices tends, statistically, and by a far margin, a big margin, tends to be more happy with their choice. So the person with less choices tends to be more happy with what they choose than the person with a bunch of choices. And so our idea of freedom, just being able to choose whatever we want, isn't going to make us satisfied. It's in fact a lot of times the opposite. It's the other sense of freedom, that is willpower, that makes us satisfied with ourselves. When we are capable of choosing what we will, rather than choosing what, when we're capable of making a good choice, essentially, a choice that we know is good in our heart, right? We tend to be more satisfied. So willpower is very important, right? And it's required for happiness. Meow is saying here that willpower is being able to, like, we will things and then we don't choose them. We will things and then we don't do them, right? And we're free, technically, to not do what we will. But to be satisfied with oneself, to be happy with oneself, you kind of have to do those things that you will, because you recognize those things that you're willing to do tend to be good things, right? So how does one strengthen willpower? That's actually not too hard. I have some classic easy examples of things you can do. one of the practices of the Catholic faith is that we fast. And fasting is, we do it for a lot of reasons, to sacrifice, to make, to honor our God and things like that, but also to increase the virtue of willpower or self-control. Here's why. When you, this is something that I was doing for a time, and I would highly recommend it. And I've given this example before, but it was a couple of years ago, so, or at least a year ago. So hopefully it won't be too fresh in your mind so that it's not reasonable to say it. I used to, when I worked inspections, like Joe was working, he no longer works that, I no longer work that, but we were doing inspections on houses, so we had to drive everywhere, right? In the morning, I would go and buy a sandwich or whatever I was going to eat for that day for lunch, right? And it would be in the car sitting next to me, right, where I could see it. And when I got hungry, I would eat half of my meal so that I would be hungry when I stopped eating. And I would let it sit there for a certain amount of time. And I would set it right next to me so I could smell it, so that I could see it, so that I'd be constantly reminded that it's there, but I can't touch it.
Mm.
And you can say, okay, for 15 minutes, I'm going to let this sandwich sit here. But you know what I would do? I would usually do an hour, sometimes 2 hours. All right? Where I would just let that sandwich or whatever it was I was eating be calling to me going, hey, you're still hungry. You didn't finish. Finish what you started, man. Like, here I am. You can just eat me. And I chose not to. And I would do this on a daily routine, right? And that strengthens willpower. Because what you're doing is you're testing your will. You're testing the strength of your will, right? And by testing it, you increase its power. As long as you succeed in your test, right? When you go do anything, when you want to practice anything, when you build muscle, right? It's practice, it's training, and you have to train your willpower. And the only way to train being a musician is to do music. The only way to train your muscles is to exercise your muscles, to use your muscles. If you don't use your muscles, you can't strengthen your muscles. And it's the same thing with willpower and most other things in life. To strengthen willpower, you have to test your willpower. There is a constant test of willpower out there. Every single day, our willpower is being tested. Every single day. There goes no day. There's no day for anyone except for if you're stuck in a coma or something where your willpower is not tested. And the amount of times that you succeed on that test will determine the strength of your willpower. But sometimes you can set yourself up and do your own tests, because then you recognize what it is. And so that's what I would recommend. It doesn't have to be meal. It can be anything. But put yourself in a scenario. It's kind of like when you go to work out at the gym. You know what you're going for. You're not just accidentally happening upon having to work out. You're going to the gym. It has the equipment there for you to work out at, and you're going to, work out. That's so when you go for your willpower to strengthen it, set yourself up for success. Go and test your willpower specifically on purpose. Don't wait for it to be tested by other things. Go knowing that what your intent is to strengthen your willpower. And then after you do that long enough, eventually you'll start to notice yourself overcoming the ones that are thrown at you each and every day that you don't expect. And that will then the random stuff will start to strengthen your willpower because you'll be achieving that correctly. But if you're not there yet, if you're not capable of, owning every single time, which almost probably no one is, that the world throws a test at you for your willpower, which again happens every day. If you're not strong enough to get most of them, then right now where you are in your journey is needing to work it out, needing to specifically make time for it. And that's okay. That's okay. I mean, a lot of us are in that spot. And we fall in and out of that spot, and myself included. So make time for it, because it is important. If you want to be a happy person, generally you're going to need self-control.
Mm-hmm.
Like, seriously. If you want to live a happy life, there's 2 things I would recommend. 2 things. Learn to be thankful about everything. There is no person that has a happy life and they're not thankful.
Mm.
There are plenty of people who are miserable because they refuse to be thankful. And so if you want to be happy, generally, be thankful. Why? Because then you notice the world around you and you're happy about it. It's a perception thing, right? And then the second thing is self-control. If you can't control yourself, you're not going to be satisfied with yourself. Right? It's just not possible. You're not going to be like, everybody has guilt. Guilt is not a bad thing. Guilt is a good thing. It aims us in the right direction. It tells us, hey, something went wrong that day. We need to try harder next time. Guilt is a beautiful thing. We need it. And we're not happy when we're guilty, but it doesn't mean we need to do away with guilt. Guilt is trying to lead us back into happiness, right? So if you feel guilty because you have a lack of willpower, if you feel, upset at yourself, be thankful. Be thankful that you have a working mechanism in your brain, because that is a mechanism in your brain that's supposed to be that way, and it's working. Don't be like, oh, what we got to do is get rid of guilt, so I'm going to do all these crazy bad things and hope that my brain stops feeling guilt about it eventually. I'm just going to say these things are normal and good. I'm supposed to not do my homework. I'm supposed, against the system, it's like, yeah. And you take pride in doing everything that's evil. Like, yeah, you can try to live that life. Go talk to someone like that. And I don't mean just go talk to someone in a group of people that's like that. Go get that person one-on-one and talk to them for real. And you'll find out on what's inside their heart. And that generally, they don't act like a happy person. And they're not. And they're fighting for their life every single day because they have to constantly argue with themselves inside, right? So the guilt that you feel because you have a lack of willpower is a good thing. Embrace it. And then listen to it. And then try harder next time. Anyways, I hope that wasn't too far off the rails. I mean, it was all connected, but I just really felt like that's what I should say. So anyways,
Yeah.
I'm going to move it back. I'm going to go over to Joe and see what he's got to say on this.
Thank you, Ryan. I love what you were getting at, and I love how you ended there with the guilt issue, because it's true. Guilt can actually slow us down because it can demoralize us. And what Ryan's talking about is a healthy way to handle your guilt. So like when you feel guilty, it's not there to demoralize you and make you feel like you are not ever going to be able to do anything or anything like that. Now, you can tend down that path if you're not careful. So I love what Ryan was talking about, because the healthy use of that guilt is to spur you into action to redeem the thing that you feel guilty about, or to do better at it, or whatever, right? So, and it's appropriate. It's an appropriate feeling because it points out something that needs to be corrected. And then we can we can learn to forgive ourselves. We can acknowledge the wrong. We can, repent of the wrong, and then we can forgive ourselves and move forward and correct it. Right? So I'm really glad you touched on that, Ryan. As far as developing willpower to move forward, we talked about, having the reason why you're going to do something, and then also Ryan talked about the discipline, the sandwich discipline. I love that story. I love that because it's so true. Like the more we can develop discipline in other areas, the more we can develop discipline in all areas, right? Like a rising tide lifts all ships. So
Mm-hmm.
there was this success principle that I came across a long time ago where they were like, you want to be successful? Make your bed every morning. And it's like, really? That's interesting. Okay. So I started making my bed every morning. You know what? I'm not successful yet. They lied to me.
They lied to me.
But you know what's funny? I still make my bed every morning. It's just a habit now, right? Like I get up and I make my bed. And I do it in a really cool way. I figured out the most efficient way for me to make my bed, and that is while I'm in it. So I'm sitting in it and I pull all the covers up. You know, I put my back against the wall or the headboard or whatever, right? And then I pull up the blankets and I put them over my waist. I fold them over so I can, and then I kind of, I get them all arranged and lined up like the way I want them. And then I fold the corner over and like slide out and then put the corner back when I get out of the bed. And then my bed's nice and made and it's all done immediately.
Very nice.
It's an amazing way to make your bed. But here's the point of making your bed isn't to make your bed. The point is to develop a discipline. Something that you can do that is healthy and productive and good that you can get into the habit of doing and it becomes a discipline. A lot of people, they struggle starting the discipline of exercise. Absolutely. I can understand that. I've fallen off the wagon of exercise, gotten back on the wagon of exercise, fallen off, gotten back on, fallen off, gotten back on. I've done this a zillion times, right? And so the key is to, work at something until you can develop the habit. And one of the cool things is we can learn to find efficient ways of doing things. I thought I had a really, really efficient workout program when it was, 23-minute workouts. Now I'm down to about 7-minute workouts. And they seem to be working all right. So, but those are little things that it's like, okay, how can I improve in this area, right? But it all kind of starts with that discipline. Now, willpower comes, how do we really get some willpower? One of the most effective ways that I've found to develop willpower is to understand and use the emotion of anger. Now, anger is not aggression. Aggression is a response to anger. Aggression is a way that we show anger. I'm going to define anger basically as a readiness to take action. It's a feeling. It's like I'm ready to do something feeling, right? Mm-hmm. Like when we get angry about something, that's what we feel. We feel this readiness to take action. Something makes us upset. Something makes us angry. And that all that is that simple, like you get a little bit of adrenaline rush, you get this, like your senses kind of, peak a little bit and you're like, oh, I'm ready to take action. I've learned that you can use anger to do anything. To help you do anything. And that's actually a really, really healthy way to express anger. A lot of times when people get angry, they will be aggressive. They will show aggression. They'll yell or be violent or whatever, they'll be aggressive toward people, and that's how they will show their anger. That's how they'll vent their anger, right? And that can be a really damaging way of doing that because you can damage yourself, you can damage other people, all this kind of stuff. Some people, like I've fallen into this camp of self-attack, like self-punishment, right? Mm-hmm. Where we feel this anger and then it's like, and then because I don't want to be aggressive, I go the opposite direction and direct it at me. And suppress it and put, and do this whole self-punishing thing. There's also, we can actually, hold on to it and make ourselves physically ill. It actually happens, like stress, like when we're ready to act and we don't act, that can then cause all kinds of physical ailments, right? Because we don't express it. And another way is like passive aggression. People, these are all like unhealthy ways of expressing anger and of dealing with anger. But if you can use your anger to simply do the thing that you know you need to do. I remember experiencing this a few months ago, and it really, I had done it before in different areas, but in this case, I had a lot of things to do. I had a lot of documents. They were legal documents. I had to get legal documents to an attorney to get to the courthouse by that day at 4:30, and I found out about it at 2:00. And so I had to read through these documents, sign them, email them back so they could then hand deliver them to the courthouse and like all this stuff, right? It was crazy. But the interesting thing was, most of the time when I had been faced with something like that, it would demoralize me and I would give up and I'd just be like, oh, there's no way this is going to do. There's no way this is going to happen. It's just going to have to get put off till tomorrow. And that's kind of like when I get faced with something that, first of all, was that important. It's a legal issue, right? When legal issues pop up in your life, they're usually pretty important, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to be handled. But the interesting thing is in a totally separate circumstance, some other person in my life, totally outside of this whole situation, made me angry because they did something. I don't even remember what they did. They said something, they did something, they did whatever it was. I got angry. And that anger fueled my ability to get all the legal documentation done and to my attorney in time to get to the courthouse, and boom. And they were really impressed. They were like, oh my gosh, like you're like on the ball. And I'm like, you caught me at a moment, right? Like you kind of lucked out on that one, like, okay.
Oh, you really did it. I'm angry.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Well, but the thing is, the anger subsides as you complete the tasks, right? Because what you're doing is you're using that readiness, that heightened emotion, that heightened sense of things. You're using it to be productive, right? So you can use that in any area. And I've used it now more when I remember to do it. It's great because something happens, it makes me angry, and then I just go look at my to-do list.
Nice.
Right? Because I got stuff I need to do. And then like if I'm like, hey, I got free energy. Somebody just handed me free energy. They made me angry.
Nice.
Right? So now
Nice.
I can go through my to-do list, and what happens is somebody might have done something. It might be just or unjust, who knows? Sometimes people just screw up and it makes us upset, right? But if we can use the energy to move forward in some area, that's worth it. And I remember my therapist, I'll never forget my therapist telling me that I needed to cultivate anger so I could learn to express it. So I needed to think about things and do things that would make myself angry so I could then learn how to express it properly. And one of the best ways to do that is to go do the things that you know you need to do, but you can't get yourself to do because you're scared, or because you don't feel like you have enough energy, or because you feel like it's too big of a deal, or whatever. If you can use that heightened sense to get yourself to do those things, it's very, very powerful. And you'll be amazed at yourself. You'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know I could be that efficient. It's incredible. But between using that emotion to do things and then learning to develop discipline in other areas, right? So let's say you want to develop the willpower to practice the piano. Okay? First thing every morning, drink a glass of water. It seems totally unrelated. But what happens is the more you discipline yourself to do one thing, the more you learn that you're trustworthy of yourself to develop discipline in other areas as well. And so that's why I say start with something simple, like drinking a glass of water first thing in the morning, or making your bed when you get up. All these are really, really simple little tiny little things that any of us can do. And if we can learn to discipline ourselves in those, we learn to trust ourselves to discipline ourselves in those other areas. And it can be really powerful. So I don't know. I think I've talked for quite a while. I think I should probably turn it back over to Ryan and see if he's got anything else to say on this. So Ryan?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't really think at this moment I don't really have too much to add. Um, I just really appreciate what you said. It's important to create an environment for yourself to practice these things. And to create that environment knowing you're going into it to practice those things. So I really appreciate Joe talking about his therapist telling him that, hey, you need to cultivate your anger. You need to go home and make yourself angry with something so that you can go forward with handling it correctly, so that you can start training yourself to handle your anger correctly from now on. Not that Joe has never been an aggressive person, just or an angry person. It's just when you mishandle it for so long, it's bad for you, as Joe was talking about. And in his form, it was just suppressing it so that no one would see it. And I would say, yeah, it's the same thing with willpower, right? Again, don't try to put off your guilt. Don't sedate it. Don't try to explain it away. Embrace it. Recognize it. One of the things that's important, and on top of that, just to not sidetrack too far, and create those environments for you to practice that self-control. My example is the sandwich one, but you can do anything. You can do any kind of thing. It's like, okay, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a game on that I really like playing, and the music's gonna be playing in the background, but I'm not gonna play it. I'm gonna do my homework, and that game is gonna be calling out to me, but I'm gonna do my homework anyways. Anything like that, right? Anything like that, where you can tempt yourself, you put yourself in a safe environment where you know you can win, and you tempt yourself, and then you succeed in the battle, right? And so creating those environments where you get to test yourself is important to start the journey on how to actually act like this in the real world outside of the tests, outside of the environments, I mean. So it's a great strategy, very helpful. But yeah, I wanted to say one more thing about guilt, and that was this. Joe was talking about how you can allow guilt to suppress you or make you feel bad, and you just kind of don't do anything. You're just like, well, now I'm demoralized, so now I can't really do anything. I'm just gonna sit here in it, and that happens to a lot of people. I think that happens to all of us. And it's important to know that the best thing you can do is just kind of take that guilt and imagine yourself hugging it, I guess, and be like, you are a very good, important working part of me. I think to do that really helps a lot, because then it goes, okay, now I got myself back on track. I forget what I was going to say about it now that I decided not to take that tangent before, but it's it's important to recognize that guilt is very helpful. Um, and yeah, um, I guess I'm not. My brain has kind of gone to a blank, so I'm just gonna leave it at blank. Joe,
Blank.
you can have it back.
Blankety blank blank. Um,
Blank, 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 blank.
yeah, I think one of the
If
things.
my brain remembers what it was gonna say
Oh,
before I'll say it, but
perfect. Go
yeah.
ahead.
No, if my brain remembers. If my brain remembers what it was gonna
Oh,
say before I'll say it, but if
oh.
I
I
don't.
thought you said my brain remembers what it was going to say. I was like, well,
No, it
hold
doesn't. It doesn't.
on.
It doesn't.
Gotcha. Yeah, I wanted there's one thing I want to just touch on real fast before we end this topic. And that is that, Ryan was talking about, the whole when you can make yourself demoralized through guilt and all that kind of stuff, right? One of the things we can do that can totally destroy our willpower is look at our track record in the past. If we haven't had a very good track record in a certain area, right? So those are some things to watch out for. But there are things that we probably have done well and have a track record of success in. There is not one of us, I believe, that has failed at absolutely everything their entire life. And, so there are things we can look back on in our life as success track records to prove to ourselves that it's possible for us to do these things. Another thing we can do is look at other people who have also been successful in this area and understand that, hey, that's just a person, just like me. I'm a person too. And if I learn the disciplines and the skills to do this thing, I can also succeed at that thing that I want to do, right? So willpower can be a really, really fickle thing, and it can depend a lot on what we're looking at. If we've failed at things in our life, and all of us have, sometimes we need to learn how to forgive ourselves. And that can be so hard. So hard. And sometimes if we were at fault in things and we need to learn how to forgive ourselves, sometimes we need to repent of the thing and understand it was wrong and feel sorry for it and feel sorrow about it. And then it gives us the freedom to then forgive ourselves because we realize we did something wrong. We're sorry. We don't want to do it again. We're resolving to not do that again. And so then we can move forward with forgiving ourselves. And that can be a really tough process sometimes. But so I would caution you, if you're trying to develop willpower, try to avoid thinking of the track records of failure in your life. Because all of us have them. All of us have the time when we were going to do something and we didn't do it. Or, we even sometimes when we tried really hard and we just didn't make it. If we can start to look at those and say, you know what? All those things were learning experience that I built upon, and now I'm here. And now I'm doing something different. And sometimes you can even look back to learning how to walk. Now, I don't remember learning how to walk. It was, it was somewhere between, it was like 29 years ago-ish.
Wow.
But I was 29 when I learned to walk too.
That sounds right.
But anyway, the thing about it is we fell down so many times learning how to walk, and we just kept doing it. You know why? Because we saw people all around us walking. And we were like, you know what? I can do that too. And probably we had all kinds of people around us that were encouraging us. We had family members or whoever, or friends of our family members, whatever, that were really excited every time that we stood up or every time that we took a step or anything like that, right? It's an exciting thing.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when we get to become adults? Oh, you're not good at that at the first moment you started it? Well, it must not be for you then. You know? This is the kind of advice sometimes that we get, right? Where it's like, oh, well, hey, I don't know. But the thing is, if you talk to someone who's been successful in that area, they're going to be like, oh, yeah, this is how you do it because I've been there. Start by doing this and then do this and then do this and boom, boom, boom. And they can give you the whole path, right?
Something that you might notice is that people who are successful tend to try to tell other people to keep trying at it.
Mm-hmm.
And people who are not successful tell people to not try anymore. Like,
Right.
there's something to that. There's a reason.
Yep. Well, and a lot of times it's in that specific field too, right? Because then
Yes.
as we get older and we start to choose a path and like a field that we're going to do, what we need to do is we need to find people who have been successful there. It's funny. And we've talked about marriage and all this kind of stuff. I remember a guy who I worked with. he was jaded, right? And he wasn't divorced, but he just had a really unhappy marriage. And he had this attitude. He's like, if man was supposed to be married, he'd have been born that way.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, and then we'd ask him, so why don't you get divorced? I can't afford it. And it's like, okay. But anyway, some of that has to do with just attitude, right? But then also some of it has to do with, like, if you talk to someone who's graduated from college and you ask them what it's going to take to graduate from college, they're going to tell you what it takes. If you talk to someone who never went to college, chances are they might not know how to graduate from college. So some of that, I don't know how we got off on all this, but because we're talking about willpower here, right? But
Yeah.
some of it is being aware of who you surround yourself with, right? Try and surround yourself with some people that can then be an encouragement to you, and that can help a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we've gone on a whole bunch of tangents on this topic. I'll tell you what, Meow, thank you so much for this topic. And I hope some of this made sense to you guys. And I hope, we were able to help out. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, we shall move on. I will go now through the list of names one more time, and we'll see who we come up with here. We have... Oh, you know what? I'm going to refresh this list, actually, because, it's got all the ones we already did. Okay. We have Wandering Soul, Sparrow, Meow. Well, we just did one from Meow. Shark Jelly, Toby, Warspite, Vanderwood, August, Kel's Kitchen, Fredneck, Meow and Raka, and another one from August. So if any of you heard your name and you're still here, please let us know you're here. We'd love to do your topic. I think August said they were leaving.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
No.
It was Frednick who had said that.
Fredneck was leaving too?
No, Frednick left a little while ago. I don't know if he's back.
Okay. August said my internet is breaking, so I'll have to join back later, y'all. So yeah, we might have neither of them that used to once be here. So we also have the option of doing, there's this topic from Wandering Soul has been here for over 6 months. And I think, Hopey Hopeful, hey, we're glad you're here, even if you weren't on the list.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yep. Kat,
Kat.
you're here. You're awesome. Welcome. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's good. I'm going to say what Princess put in the chat. If you have a topic you'd like to submit, you can go to our website, don'tworrywednesday.com. And right there. Yeah. Oh, wow. Princess is even offering her assistance on Discord. Oh, Princess, you're so awesome. Can I just say that?
You may.
Say it.
Princess, you're so awesome.
There it is. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Um, yeah, so I think let's do this one from Wandering Soul. It's called Melancholy.
Let's do it.
And yeah, I'll get the topic up here so then we can put it on the screen. And then Princess can read it aloud for us. So, Princess, whenever you're ready.
Feeling emotions is inescapable, inexorable, and yet they bring pain and misery. You strive to make friends, you feel excited when they accept your friendship, and then you feel betrayal when it comes crashing down. Bleeding, you try to hold on to the ones closest to you, the ones who you would die for, only to see them stand behind the trigger of a gun and fire. Defeated, sad, and alone, you crawl and beg for something, anything to make you happy again, to give those happy feelings you thought you had back. But you never did have them in the first place. They were illusions, farces, and feeling anything at all leads to pain. When you've been made a fool time and time again for the feelings you have, it's little wonder that there's a desire to crush such feelings to dust, to destroy the thing that brings you so much pain. And there's only so many times one can have hope when the world has always shown, without failure, that you are meant to be alone. That your feelings, no matter what they are nil and void in an uncaring world. Only a fool would ignore so many signs such as that, and foolish were we, people to people fail to recognize just how much they can matter to someone. So quick are we to forget the people, leave them behind in the past, while they could still be thinking of the pain of being abandoned can cause. And when you are abandoned by everyone, when there is no one who could even begin to know who you are, what a woeful curse. One that leaves you empty, hollow, wishing you were dead, but being too stubborn to even consider it. We've heard the same things, repeated ceaselessly, but it makes no difference. No hope, optimism, or confidence can change what is seemingly branded to your destiny that the divine has given you. We don't even know who we are anymore, who we truly are beneath all the masks and walls and situational personalities. How much suffering does one endure before their emotions break? Enough. And what even is left afterwards? From Wandering Soul.
Ooh. Wow. Wandering Soul. If you end up watching this in the future, I want to say thank you so much for this topic. It's beautifully written and very sad. And
Yeah.
I know that there have been a lot of times when I could relate to a lot of the words that you've put out there. And I'm sorry if this is something that you're going through right now. I know that's not a fun place to be. And it can be so hard to navigate. And so I just want you to know if you end up listening to this that we love you. And if you're going through this, I'm so sorry because I know how painful it is. And I would really, really like to hear what Ryan has to say because I know the wisdom of this gentleman and I know his heart and I know his caring. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what he has to say. So, Ryan, if you're ready, I'm ready for you to talk.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, it's crushing. Um, I mean, first of all, very beautifully written, well written. Um, and we appreciate that you share this with us. Life is absolutely full of pain. Don't let anyone tell you it's not. Don't let anyone sit there and try to say like, uh, you know, th- I don't want to bash anybody. Um, and so forgive me. There are these people out there, like there's like, for example, like churches out there, and the pastor will proclaim like, all you gotta do is believe in Jesus Christ, and you'll have no more pain. Everything in life,
Mm.
you're gonna have a better car, you're gonna have a better, like everything is gonna get better. I forget what you call those, but um, that's not reality. You know, um, reality is, well, the reality is there's a lot of pain in life, but there's also a lot to be thankful for. Um, and if it, it's not true that reality is what we make it. However, what we choose to see does affect our emotions. You know, you said feeling emotions is inescapable, inexorable, and that's true. That's true. I mean, you're gonna feel emotions. It's gonna happen. You're human. You pretty much have them. You know, and that's okay. Pain, that's okay. It's okay to have those things. Um, to recognize that feeling pain is okay, it does so much. Let me give you an example of something. It was recent in my life, and it's silly because it's not the same kind of pain, but you'll understand. It is the same. I recently had what do you call that? A sty. I recently had a sty in both of my eyes.
Mm.
And if you ever had a sty, it hurts constantly. Um, and it's just like this pain of someone stabbing you in the eye and just not stopping for the whole day. And it is awful. And I had it in both of my eyes. And so I just like, I'm like, I don't want to do anything today. I keep my eyes closed and it's just worse. So I keep my eyes open and it's just like, oh, please, anything to stop thinking about this would be great.
Mm.
You know, so just like do anything that's like intense just so I don't have to think about the pain, because the more I think about the pain, the more the pain exists. And I think a lot of a lot of us human beings live our lives running from pain because we realize there's this point where if we stop thinking about the pain, if we watch a movie, if we, you know, find our escape, right? Some people escape into different things. Some people do alcohol. Some people do other kinds of drugs. Some people watch television. Some people play video games. Some people read books. There's all sorts of different things we do to escape, right, from pain. But the problem is, when we escape, a lot of these types of pains aren't gone when we start thinking about them again, right? And some things we can do nothing but waste time until they pass. And some things we actually have to solve them before they stop hurting, you know, and you have to decide which ones are which. But one thing that's interesting is when you experience that pain, and instead of running from it, instead of escaping from it, this is something that I did in my time with my two styes in both eyes. Um Actually, one of them had like two styes in one eye and the other had one. So it was like one
So you
eye,
had
three
three
styes
styes
and
and
two
two
eyes.
eyes.
That's what I had. Three styes and
Wow.
two eyes. It was awful. And one of my eye was just like it was awful. But anyways, yeah, I could barely open it.
Mm.
So one of the things I remember doing this as a child, and it helped back then, and it helps now, and it helps even with things that aren't physical pain. But this is what you do. When I'm experiencing that pain, instead of trying to escape from it, I focus on it and I go, this is pain. What is pain for? What is this pain for? Well, this pain, usually pain is like to tell you, hey, take your hand off of the stove, right? Because that's
Right.
on and it hurts
It's
you.
burning
So,
you.
mhm. And there are people, I'm going to take a short detour here. There are people that are born without the ability to sense physical pain, and their parents, and them included, will say that it is way more a curse than it is a blessing. Because when they're 6 years old, they don't recognize that the stove is on. They're 6 years old. They don't know anything but the taste of the beautiful, wonderful cookie that's inside the oven. So they don't know not to open up the oven, stick their hand in the 400-degree, you know, oven, put their hand on the scalding hot cookie, and then put it into their mouth and blister their tongue and
Mm.
their throat and not even recognize it, except for all the bleeding and all the other stuff that comes with it, and going, oh, what's going on with me? This is not okay. And their parents are freaking out and trying to save the child from possible death. So it's to not feel pain is actually, in all cases, more of a curse than it is a blessing. There's many reasons for that. But that's just one. There are many, many, many more. Pain is beautiful. And a lot of times we just think about pain. Like, what is the reason I'm feeling it? Oh, because I'm supposed to learn a lesson, or because I'm supposed to know that this isn't good. Well, I know this isn't good. I know that 3 styes and 2 eyes is not good, right? But there's nothing I can do about it, right? So sometimes you're in that position. This is what I'm going to get back to what I was saying. You focus on the pain, and you go, okay, this is pain. This is something that my brain is telling me this is here. And it's not good. I know that. I know that, brain. And so you're going to send me this feeling. Okay. All right. It's just a feeling. It's just a feeling. Actually, it's just a feeling telling me that I don't like it, which is odd. Just like, I mean, there's a feeling for feeling hot. There's a feeling for feeling cold. There's a feeling for feeling something slightly tickling your hairs. There's a feeling for like when there's a spider walking on you. There's a feeling for all sorts of different stuff. And this is the feeling of like, hey, I don't like this. Okay. Well, I can just accept that. All right, that's what I'm feeling. I'll let that happen. I'll just let that feeling be. I'll just let that pain be there. And then I'll keep on focusing on it for a while. And then I'll drift off into some other thought. And you know what happens? It's pretty brilliant. It's pretty amazing. That pain stops bothering me as much. Pain, that physical pain, it's like how do you ward off that physical pain? It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. And it's like, you know what? As soon as you accept like, yeah, but that's just a feeling that my nerves and my brain, are sending messages back and forth. It's just a feeling. It's whatever. And you just accept it. And it will keep on happening even after you accept it. But it stops taking you away from your life. You stop being a slave to it. Because once you just accept that it's there, you no longer have to choose trying to figure out how to run from it, how to escape it, or how to fight it off. Because there are scenarios in life where you just like, I can't fight it off. There's nothing I can do. There's no, like, I can escape, but that doesn't help. That isn't healthy at this point. And sometimes that's where you are. And as soon as you realize, it's like, okay, it's there. And accept it. Now I can go on to doing what I want to do with my life. And I'm no longer a slave to the pain. I've just allowed it to be. Now, is that what I recommend all the time? Of course not. There are certain scenarios where you actually, yeah, you're supposed to be doing something about this. But there are certain scenarios where there's nothing you can do. And for those scenarios, well, for all scenarios, I like to give them up to my God and say, hey, hey, we're sharing in this pain together. Because when I feel pain, my God feels pain too. He suffers right along with me. And that's the beautiful thing about my God. But, not everyone's a Christian. And so I would say, yes, feelings and emotions are inescapable. But don't be at war with them. Be at peace with them. Princess brilliantly said, emotions are like part of the information. They're just a part of information. They are information, essentially. Don't let them rule over you. If you go to war with your emotions, you ultimately are immediately defeated. If you go to war at your emotions, you become a slave to your emotions. Because all you can think about is trying to fight them. And so now your whole being is taken up in the essence of, all right, my emotions, this emotion, that emotion, blah, blah, blah. You're a slave to your emotions because all you can think about is fighting your emotions. And then you have the other opposite where you just agree with your emotions on everything and you don't have any willpower to choose differently. And that's a slave to your emotions too. So you have to have a logical look at your emotions. And that's hard because your emotions don't necessarily always want to side with emotion or with logic. They we consider them two different things, but I like what Princess said. They're both pieces of information we have to utilize. We can use both of them, but utilize them Don't go to war with them. Utilize them. Don't be upset at them. And don't let them rule over you. Don't let them decide for you what you're going to do with your life. Pain is an emotion. A lot of times, pain is an emotion. Don't wage war with pain. Allow pain to be useful. Don't wage war with it. If you wage war with pain, all you can think about is pain. If you wage your war with pain, it's a reality that's not going to go away. You're just going to be a slave to it. It will win. But if you use your pain for good, if you side with pain and recognize this is a reality that's beautiful, it is beautiful, then, and only then, can you be free from it. And I don't mean to say, I don't mean to preach or say that like, oh, you know, life is just happy. Don't just pretend like pain doesn't exist and you'll be happy. No, it's the opposite. Come to the understanding that reality is that pain exists. And be okay with that. Because if you're not okay with it, then you have what you have. And everything that happens to you in life is just going to be pain. You know, one person might look at the same scenario you're going through and see it very differently and not think that that's painful at all. You know, it's true. It's true. You know it's true. People see things differently. And it's like, well, I can't help how I see things. Well, yeah, you can. That's why we're talking about this. You can see things differently. I force myself to see things differently. When I recognize that I'm in pain, I'm like, I'm not doing anything good here. I change my viewpoint of what's going on. And you know what that does? It frees me from having to constantly have war against myself because or whatever. So I would recommend, and I mean, I don't mean to be hard on you. It's just, I love you and I don't want you to think the whole world is crap because the whole world isn't crap. It might have crap in it, but guess what? We use crap to fertilize the ground, make plants. We use crap to make bananas. And bananas are great. So
Depending
yeah, the
on
world
who
is.
you are and what day it is.
Yeah, right. and what fruit you are.
Right.
But realize that the reality is there is a lot of stuff that is in life that is painful. But if you recognize that, of course, pain is real, but it's not evil. It can be useful, and we don't have to be ruled by it. And we don't always have the responsibility, because we don't have the ability in the first place to fix things. It's okay to allow things to be the way they are and change the way you feel. I've said many times, you either, if you're not happy because you hate something, well, you either change what you hate or you change what you hate. You either change the thing that you hate so that it's a different thing, or you stop hating it. And sometimes you gotta just stop hating. And I think that's where I'm going to stop. I hope that that's helpful. I hope that this wasn't too hard. I understand that it's hard to change your mind about something, but what you're going through, it stinks. We recognize that here. We aren't saying, oh, it's nothing, so just get over it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the opposite. That does stink. But realize that's if you make your whole life about what stinks, that's not gonna make you happy. And you have every ability to do that. And yes, it does stink, but utilize it. Make it worth something rather than just going, oh, yep, this is my life now, which we all do. So I'm not picking on you. We all do that. I do that. So But instead of falling into that trap that we all fall into, say, you know what? I can be thankful for the time that I had with these people. I said earlier on the stream, like, if you can be thankful, you'll find happiness. Be thankful about everything, because there's so much in the world to be thankful for. And a thankful person is a happy person, because their mind is on what is good, and that they're thankful for all these things in spite of pain, regardless of pain, regardless of all the things that are going wrong. They can still see that there's so much going right, and that is going to make you a lot more attractive to other people, and it's going to make people want to stick to being your friend more too. And that's hard to take in. It's hard to swallow, but it's true. If you feel like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong, if all my friends are leaving me, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Well, maybe it's okay if you are. We all, my gosh, I had a terrible first like 20 years for being that kind of person, where I had very few friends, and the only friends I had were kind of in the same boat as me. Like, hey, we don't have friends, and that was my friend group. Until I changed the way I acted and thought, that was my reality. But when I decided to start working on myself and go, you know what? I'm not going to be that person anymore. Suddenly I had a lot of friends. Suddenly everyone wanted to hang out with me. So maybe it is you, but maybe it's not. Either way, it's always a good day to start moving forward with our lives. It's always a good day to be thankful. It's always a good day. Period. It's always a good day. It's always a good day. I don't care what happened to you. It's always a good day. Say that to yourself. Like, I know that's hard, and you might not believe it at first, but keep on saying it. Say it every day. It's always a good day. Because the truth is, it's just a day. And if you want to say it's a bad day or a good day, it's up to you. The truth is, reality doesn't ask for your permission. Reality doesn't ask for your emotional state on it. Reality doesn't ask you about anything. Reality is reality, but you get to decide how you see it. It's always a good day. People will want to be around you a lot more if you're always having a good day. Because no one wants to be around a guy who's not having a good day. Or a girl. Like, okay, some people want to be around those type of people, but it's a lot less. Okay, we'll just say that. Anyways, I said I was gonna be done. Now I'm actually done. I'm gonna give it over to Joe, and I'm sorry for being so hard on you.
Oh man, Ryan, that was wonderfully, wonderfully said. I appreciate your perspective so much. I was trying to think of what I'm gonna say for all this. It's an interesting thing because suffering, like Ryan was saying, suffering comes our way. We don't ask for it. You know, we don't want it. And I love what you ended with there, that a day is just a day.
Mm-hmm.
It's not good, it's not bad. It is. It's a day. Pain is a feeling, right? And suffering is one of those things that can be absolutely debilitating. It can be demoralizing. It can shove us into a place of despair. And sometimes we cannot control that. And I understand that. So wandering soul and anybody who's dealing with something this deep, something that, like when you're reaching the level of despair, and I would encourage you, especially if it's starting to affect your life functions, like if it's starting to affect your ability to do things day to day, I would highly, highly encourage you to find some kind of a therapist, whether it's a counselor, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. If you're going down far enough along the path to thinking about ending your own life, there are hotlines you need to talk to someone. And it can be hard to make that phone call. It can be hard to say, you know what? I'm in a spot where I need to talk to someone. I'm in a spot where I need help. And it's hard to ask for help. But sometimes we get to that point. I mean, Will Smith had this quote. It's not necessarily related, but he said, sometimes, you know what? Sometimes you just go off the road and you're stuck in the ditch and you're waiting for someone, a tow truck, to come pull you out, right? And that can happen in our emotional lives as well. Whereas, like, sometimes we find ourselves in a funk. Sometimes we find ourselves in a deep funk. Sometimes we get to the point where we can't function properly and our brain is so clouded by everything and we need to sort through stuff. Sometimes we've been wounded over and over and over again. Sometimes there may have been years of mental and emotional abuse that you've sustained. Sometimes, I mean, who knows what is happening? But there are times when you might need help. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay. There are people that want to help you. I mean, that's why we do this show. We want to help. We're not therapists. We're friends. And when I started seeing my therapist, one of the first things that she asked me was, who are your friends? Who's your support group? And fortunately, I had a great one. And I still do. I have a great support group of close friends. And it's great because all of them have strengths in different areas. I have a core group of friends. There's like 5, I think. And they all have specialties that I can share, you know, different sides of things and get that certain perspective, right? Whether it's spiritual or logical or matters of the heart or, you know, like whatever it is, right? And sometimes you just need, like Steve, one of my really, really good friends, right? For him, he's the guy that's just got my back. And I've got his. No matter what. No matter what. He does something wrong, you know, I've got his back. He finds himself in trouble, I'm there. I'm in trouble, he's there. Or at least on the phone. We live 2 hours apart. So, like, so you might not necessarily always be able to drive right away, right? But here's the thing. Suffering has a purpose. There's a song by Static P called A Reason for Our Suffering. Right? I would listen to it. Because there are going to be times in our lives when we're broken. There are going to be times when we feel like dirt, like fertilizer, like Ryan was talking about. Crap fertilizes the stuff, right? Like,
that's right. That's right. It's very good at it.
Yep. It's nutritious. It's very nutritious for the beautiful crops out there, right?
Yeah, please, just the crops, guys.
Yes.
I'm not gonna say what other things.
Nutritious
implied,
for the
but
plants.
Only nutritious for plants. Okay. And
Not
the
for
fly.
people.
Flies in plants. Okay.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you for that disclaimer, Ryan.
You're welcome.
Oh my gosh.
It occasionally pays. And that's not a joke.
Yeah. At some point here, I will have, I'm hoping I don't get in trouble for this, but there's a there's a letter written by Pope John Paul II called on the Christian meaning of human suffering. And he unpacks suffering in a way that I've never, ever experienced before. And I wanted an audio to listen to of this thing, and I could never, ever find one. I looked all over the place. I wanted to listen to it just read like an audiobook, right? So I'm like, you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to record it, and I'm going to just put it on my personal YouTube and not monetize it or anything and just have it there, so I can listen to it and so other people can listen to it. I told my friend Paul about that. He's one of my close circle of persons, and he's like, yeah, you might want to be careful with that. The USCCB might come after you, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, whatever, we'll see. I'm not going to monetize it at all. I'm not planning on selling it. I'm not whatever, right? It's just like, hey, there should be an audio version of this somewhere available, and it's not. So I'm going to make it available. But suffering is one of those things. When we find ourselves in it, we don't always necessarily know how we got there. And we don't necessarily always know how to get out. And sometimes the only thing that's going to heal us is time. And that's frustrating. Right? Like Ryan was talking about, don't fight your pain. Don't go to war with your pain. Accept it. Embrace it. Understand there's a reason for it. That's a hard pill to swallow, man.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the middle of it, when you're in the thick of it, you can't barely get through a day. That's hard. And sometimes you just lay there and you cry. And I'll tell you what, physical pain is painful. The internal pain in your heart and in your soul, that's the really painful
It's crushing. That's crushing. It's debilitating.
That's the harder stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And wandering soul, I hear you. I love you. I know it's hard. There's a reason for this. And, I'm going to go a little bit religious on you just for a second. Because we ask God, why? Why? Why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to endure this? Why? There's a reason for this. Okay, fine. What is it? Why? And God, you know what? We never get the answer directly. The answer never comes in the abstract. It never comes as well, this is why, because blah, 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 blah. And this comes from the letter I was talking about from Pope John Paul II. And it says, what comes as an answer is an invitation. An invitation to endure. We talk about the sufferings of Christ. Most people know the story of Jesus. Most people know the story of the crucifixion. Now here's the thing. Here was an innocent man that was mocked, put on trial, crucified unjustly, whipped, beaten, killed, all this stuff, right? Endured the pinnacle of human suffering, which crucifixion was the most, in history of mankind, that was like the most excruciating death that man has invented. And it was long and drawn out and humiliating, and they took it to a whole new level, and he's innocent. Right? And in our faith, it's God in human form, right? I know not all faiths necessarily believe that, but that's in Catholicism, right? In Christianity, that's where we're at. But anyway, he endured every bit of that abandonment. All of his friends left. He was betrayed by one of his closest friends, mocked, denied by his friends. Like his friends say, his closest friends, one of them, like, I didn't know him. Nope, I wasn't with him. I don't know him. You know? Imagine your closest friends all leaving, except for there was one left that stood there with his mom when he was dying. Saule, yes. The word excruciating was made to describe the pain of crucifixion. That makes sense. But here's the thing. This is what's in the letter. The invitation that we get, the answer we get when we ask God, why? Why am I enduring this? The answer is an invitation to suffer alongside Christ. And like Ryan was talking about, he will pray. And because God suffers with us, right? But we get the invitation when we ask why. We get the invitation to suffer along with him. And in that way, through the experience, we understand. Through gradual going through it, we start to learn a little bit more and more about what purpose this has for us and for the world around us. And it doesn't make it easy. Not by any means does it make it easy. This is hard. This is hard stuff. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry you're going through it. And I know when I tell you I understand, you may or may not believe that. Each one of us has a different type of suffering, probably. Every one of us has a little different nuance, right? But all of them can take us to our limit. I look at some people who have suffered great things, and I feel like I look at my own suffering, which is to the very limit of my capacity, and my capacity seems to grow every day. And I reach the new limit every day. And I look at people and I'm like, man, they're just like totally like, I don't know how they could experience all that suffering. Princess, thank you. I was hoping you would type that. Everyone is entitled to their own sorrow, for the heart has no metrics or forms of measure, and all of it irreplaceable. There is going to come a time for all of us that we get pushed to our limit in pain, in some kind of suffering. We're going to hit our capacity. And you know what? It doesn't do me any good to look at someone and be like, oh man, man, you think you got it bad. Look at what I'm going through. Or what? No, because whatever somebody's limit is, that's their limit. Now, here's the thing. We're people, so our limits can grow. It's fancy, We grow and we change and we expand. And our capacity does too. But you know what? There's a reason somewhere. And through suffering, great things come about. The thing the thing about suffering is there's redemption to be had. There's resurrection on the other side. There's hope while we're enduring, that it can be used for something. Even if it's just to inspire someone around us, or even if it's because we're pursuing something that's important, that's going to help the lives of someone important to us. Maybe, like maybe our family members, whoever, right? We endure things in order to, sometimes we do that to help another person. And sometimes they just come out of the blue and they nail us. So I'll tell you what, if you're going through this and you're having a hard time and it's affecting your ability to function, you need to find a counselor. I'm just going to tell you right now, you need to find a counselor. You need to find somebody to talk to, a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a licensed counselor, whoever, right? Somebody. And it probably will cost a little bit of money, but that's what they're there for. Because they're going to be able to help you unpack this stuff. I remember talking to my friend Steve, my friend who's got my back and I've got his back, right? It's so funny. He's going through a painful divorce. So am I. At the same time. I'm a few months ahead in mine, right? But I remember having a phone conversation with him. He was calling, he was in tears. I was in tears. We were just like, all this stuff, right? He was going through all this craziness. And I'm like, dude, when's the last time you talked to your therapist? And he's like, oh man, I haven't seen my therapist in like a month. I'm like, dude, you need to call your therapist. Dude, I'm your friend. I've got your back. I love you. And I do anything for you. But there are things that I cannot help you unpack in your brain that you need a professional to help you with, right? There are times when we need that. And there's no shame at all in doing it. So I don't know. I don't know if what I said is any good. I don't know if it's helpful. More than anything, I want to convey the point, wandering soul, that you are loved. We love you. And I know that it's hard. And there are others that understand that it's hard. You're not alone. No matter how abandoned you may feel, no matter how betrayed you may feel, you're not alone. There are people that would be willing to help you. And also, there are other people who are also experiencing the same thing. So in both senses of the word, you are not alone. The problem is we feel like we're alone in those times. We totally feel alone. And in a way, we kind of are because sometimes as we suffer, we're suffering our own unique experience. And so, in a sense, we are going through it alone because no one else is experiencing that particular flavor. But others are experiencing just as intense of their own flavor. You're not alone. And I don't know. I think I've run out of words. So, Ryan,
You did awesome. That was beautiful.
I hope it can be helpful. Did you have anything else to say? Or Princess, did you have anything to say?
She doesn't. She
Okay.
has a big no. Oh, that's a even bigger no. Bigger no. Because she has to go do something. I hope this isn't part of her bit. Anyways, okay, I'm just gonna start talking. Anyways,
Yeah, Ryan.
yeah, just a couple of things I wanted to say. Oh, Joe, what you said is absolutely beautiful, and absolutely true. One of the things you touched on was there's a reason for the suffering, right?
Mm.
And as you said, there's sometimes you don't know what it is, and a lot of times you don't know what it is when you're going through it, and at the end of it, you expect it to be probably that you become a better person generally. Some things don't work out that way. Sometimes your suffering helps out another person. And sometimes it's by you had to suffer, so you get to help someone else through theirs. But
Mhm.
sometimes it's like literally you suffer and another person makes out for it. Be thankful because that means you just won someone else's joy for them. Like that's
Mm.
incredible. That's beautiful. That's freaking awesome on you. Like seriously, celebrate that. Suffering. Here's the thing though. As I was saying before, and as Joe said as well, don't go to war with pain. Don't go to war with suffering. Because why? You are not going to be able to learn your reason for suffering if all you're doing is avoiding it or going to war with it. If you want to learn why you're suffering, you have to first accept it so that you can start to learn. Right? So that was the one thing I wanted to say to kind of pull those things together. um, and there was definitely a lot of other things I could say. Joe had a lot of really good points. Um,
You had a lot of really good points.
one of the things, let's see, if, my brain is kind of a miss at the moment. Let me read real quick. Um, nope, it's not coming to me, and that's fine. But yeah, just hang in there. It's okay to suffer, and we love you. There's a lot of people out there that love you that don't know you, but they still love you and they want to know you. And there's a lot of people who want to help. So seeing a therapist is very wise. Um, if that's the position that you're in, go see a therapist. Even if that's not your position, see a therapist and find out that you were in that position. You just didn't realize it. Um,
Mhm. Yes. The
um,
key is it's okay.
yeah,
It's okay
it's
to find
okay.
a therapist. It's okay to, look and find somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Um, I remember the other thing I was gonna say was really good, but no, yeah,
Mm.
it's just out of my mind. I'm
It
having one of
was
those
really
days, I
good.
guess.
I
Um,
remember what it was, but I can't say it because you were going to say
cheater. I don't know why that's where that can cheater. You're cheating.
it.
You're cheating everybody else out of their great whatever I was gonna say. Um,
But it needs to come from
but
you.
oh, okay, darn. Well, it might not. But anyways, yeah, it's okay. It's okay to suffer. Embrace it. Allow it to be there, and then learn from it. Then, because if you go to war with it, if you attack it, if you just get caught up in the thinking of like life is miserable, and you let it, you become a slave to it, then you're not you're not gonna be triumphant. It's gonna suck you down, and that's where you're gonna be. Um, and yeah, I guess I can't think of the other thing. So
All
there's
right.
there's that. It's okay.
Cool.
We're already 11 minutes over. So
We are. And I talked a long time and I
yeah, so did
apologize.
I.
I hope it was
I
good,
talked for like 18 minutes,
but I don't, yeah,
and you like talked for like something like
87
that too.
minutes.
20, something like that.
Anyway, yes. Wandering
Doesn't matter.
Soul, thank you. Thank you so much for the topic. It's a, man, I'm glad I can be off camera sometimes. I'll tell you that.
Mm,
I got to collect myself at times, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's very moving, very, very powerful topic. And
Mhm.
thank you for sharing.
Oh, I suppose one quick thing is
Mm,
um be willing to forgive.
mm,
I think that's one thing that it wasn't said, and we used to say it a lot, but it's
mm,
important.
mm-hmm,
Forgiveness is the route to healing.
mm-hmm.
especially from suffering. Forgiveness is the route to healing. And I just want to say this on forgiveness. Um, obviously, forgiveness is not just like, oh, we're friends now because I said so, or I'm not upset with at what they did anymore. Right? That's not forgiveness. Forgiveness is one thing. Forgiveness requires a correct sense of justice first. If you don't understand what you're forgiving, then you're not really forgiving, right? So, one of the best things you can do to forgive people, even yourself, is to count all the different things, add them up, add up every single thing that that person owes you. Think about it. Think about all the things, like they did one thing wrong, right? Maybe they, here's I'm quoting from someone else, Father Mike Schmitz, but he gives an example of, like, you broke my arm. Like, we were roughhousing, you went too far, you broke my arm. Like, what do you owe me now? Well, I was in football, but guess what? I can't play this year. So you owe me an entire year of football. Also, it was really hard to write all of my assignments out. You basically owe me a whole new school year and a whole football year. And he goes on and he says all the different things that it cost him. It cost him all of these things because this other person broke his arm. And so he adds all those things up. And then he says, and I would encourage you to say, you don't have to pay me back. What you did is wrong, of course, but you don't have to pay me back. I'm moving on. And sometimes that's what we need for healing. We need to recognize what we are wronged, what we are owed. Then say, you don't have to give that back to me. I'm not asking you. And then that's forgiveness. And that's a lot of times what you have to do for healing. Because forgiveness is the route to healing. Always. Whenever someone wrongs you, whenever you wrong yourself, most pain in the world comes in a time where forgiveness is needed to heal it. Most suffering can be solved with forgiveness. Not all, but most of them. It can be tough because sometimes you're stuck in a position where they keep on doing you wrong over and over and over, and you can't get out of it for a while yet. But even in those times, momentary forgiveness for certain things that they're doing, it helps a little bit until it's all over and you can finally forgive them of all of it and move on. Now, is life about just being wronged and forgiving? No, of course not. That's why we also have justice. And in fact, you can have both justice and forgiveness at the same time. But it's important to find healing because, it makes... If you get wounds and you never heal, well, that's going to stink your whole life. That's going to be, yeah, you've just kind of allowed yourself to continue suffering instead of actually fixing the problem.
Mm.
And so sometimes fixing the problem is not necessarily something you have to do. It's something you have to forgive.
Mm.
So I just want to add that. That wasn't even the thing that I was going to say before, but I think that's important.
Definitely worth saying, because we can harbor things, and that will impede our healing process when we are unforgiving. Forgiveness is for our own healing.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily to heal the relationship, not necessarily to reconcile everything, right? But for our own healing, we must forgive. It's part of that process. And it doesn't mean that they escape justice, because there might be something that needs to, justice may still also need to be served in that. But inside us, the forgiveness can help our own healing process. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because you're right. we used to say that all the time, and we got so into the topic of suffering, we left off the healing
Yeah.
part.
Yeah. That's right.
So
Anyways, cool. Well, we're
Yep.
like 17 minutes over. Thank you all for joining us.
dude, I'm
Stay
the
here.
host,
I'm gonna
man.
give it over to Joe to be the host. So that's not my job. I don't know. I don't even. Bye.
You're awesome.
I'm just not gonna say anything. I won't even say like whatever I'm saying right now. I'm not even gonna end this.
You keep talking though, man. Like, what the
Well,
heck?
I won't talk after.
I'm not
like,
even
I
gonna
won't
say
talk
anything.
after.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna stop
I'm not
talking.
gonna say anything.
I'm
I
not
won't
gonna
say
say
anything
anything.
after this sentence.
I'm
Like I won't.
I'm
I
gonna
won't even
stop
finish this
talking.
sentence. Like when I mean, you're the host, right? So like, it's not my job. It's not my job. So I'm just gonna be quiet. I'm just
Yes.
gonna keep being quiet.
Thank you guys so much for being here and joining us on Don't Worry Wednesday. You guys are awesome. And yeah, it's great to be here. I was sad to miss last week, but I got to be here in the chat with you guys, and it was a great show. And I look forward, and Ryan looks forward, and Princess looks forward to seeing you all next week on Don't Worry
Wait.
Wednesday. Wait, what? You said you were gonna stop talking.
I didn't even say a word. I just made it sound.
Yeah, man.
You're interrupting our closing. Stop interrupting the host. Let him do his job.
All right. Thank you guys for being here. We will see you next week on Don't Worry Wednesday. If you have something you would like us to talk about, go to don'tworrywednesday.com, click the submit a topic button, and we'd be happy to do your topic. And in the meantime, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful life throughout this whole entire week or until we see you again. And thank you, Ryan, for being here. Thank you, Princess, for all that you do on this show. You are so amazing. And thank you all in the chat for being here. We could not do this show without you and without your support. You guys are so amazing. So we love you. And we'll see you next time on Don't Worry Wednesday. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye. Peace.